Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Emily the Criminal. So, this is one of these simple movies that you have to figure out what the crime is, and then there has to be the escalation of it afterwards. Because this movie, of course, is to be an hour and a half film, and it's really slow. It's really slow, but once we actually get to the criminal part, the crime part of it, like I actually thought I was like, okay, like I can get into this film, like I can enjoy it, I can like it. It's just the fact that it's just a slow film. Um, it is like worth the time, but I just don't think that it's probably worth $6.99 for someone to go and rent it. I think reasonably, I would say if it was like half that price, then maybe people should maybe jump on it. But still, like you can go on and see a number of other movies that is just like this for absolutely free on a number of different apps. In all honesty, but I'll go on and give you a free option also, so you can be able to see this movie for absolutely free. Because to me, this movie just reminds me of like Queen Pins, or it reminds me of the show Good Girls, and so it feels like those things. And so for this film, we come to find out that Emily, who is to be this caterer who seems to have trouble trying to get a real substantial job, Emily is to come into finding out about this uh, shady job that is to give her $200 for an hour's worth of work. Emily goes on to decide, like, okay, well, I guess, like, I need $200, as Emily is to be in a massive amount of debt. So, Emily decides to go on and figure out what this job is. Come to find out, this job is credit card fraud. Having Emily need to have this ID and this credit card that are both fake, so that way she can go on and buy this massive TV to turn around and give these guys like $1,200 worth of an item for her to get $200. And so Emily, after going on and doing this first job, of course, there's a reason why this movie's called Emily the Criminal. She realizes that there is another job that she can go on and do. And of course, she goes on and does it. And that further leads Emily to decide, like, well, hey, like, how about I go on and I just kind of learn what you guys are doing, and like I make some money myself, and if I'm going on and making some really substantial money, then I'll go on and get like better work within these guys, and we further go on and have Emily, who ends up getting attached to a guy named Yusuf, who was to originally bring her into things. And then it seems that there is to be a problem with the company that she is to keep. And so we have, of course, Emily, who, by further and further she's getting within this film, Emily is starting to realize that if someone is going to go on and try to steal from me, I'm going to steal right back from them. Because Emily will not be effed with. And so that's the one thing that I really liked about this character, like the build of this character, where this girl just needs this money, and she just needs to do this because otherwise she's going nowhere. And so, with that said, this movie is to really just be a light okay. It's still a positive. Like the main problem with this movie is it's just slow. If it was a quicker paced film, even though it would be a lot shorter, uh, still I would have probably like liked it a bit more. Or I would have just liked there to have been like more events in this film. If it would have been more eventful, then I would have been much more intrigued by this movie, or much more than like, man, like this is interesting. But again, there's only so far you can go with this kind of film, and so really for me to go on and like say like, man, if they could have just added, if they could have just done this, if they could have, like, it's very difficult for this kind of film to give somebody anything that is going to be like, wow, anymore, because we've kind of seen all these kinds of films. You have to do something so unique that that'll actually raise eyebrows nowadays for this kind of film, because so many people have seen so many variations that if you're just giving a credit card fraud movie, yeah, that's not going to be like, wow, what a shocker. No, people should be like, oh, okay, all right, this is another one of those. Great. So, uh, so yeah, I wouldn't say to go on and pay $6.99 for this movie, but where can you go on and see this movie for free? Because of course people will be looking for that. So, here are some apps. The first app that will go on, and I'm not quite sure that every single one of these will be on the Google Play Store forever. So, more than likely, if you go through a Google Play Store and just search the word movie apps, at some point you'll go on and find the equivalent of any number of these apps, because at some point a lot of apps just kind of trade software at certain points to just be like the exact same app, but it's under a different name or different this or different that, but it's the same thing. So the first app that I would go on and suggest people to use is Doxy, Doxcy. You can pretty much see any number of premium access stuff, or you would go on and see any number of movies that I wouldn't have gone on and seen before uh, until getting this app. So that was kind of a really great benefit to go on and see movies. I'm like, yeah, like I finally wanted to see this movie, and now I can. Um, moving on next. There is to be an app called Play UHD. So those are two words. The Play and the UHD are two different words. So if you go on and search Play UHD, you'll come to find a app where the logo says Fox HD Movies. Go ahead and download that app, and then you'll be able to go on and see this movie for absolutely free. The next, you can also go on to a app called 123 Movies. And I'm not quite sure if Emily the Criminal is on there, but you'll also be able to see a number of movies for absolutely free. And also, 123 Movies, like, you have to realize that this app has kind of a number of different variations of it, and some of them don't actually work for whatever good reason, so you got to find the right one. Because, of course, there's sometimes the server doesn't work, or there's sometimes where you can't access the content. But at some point, you'll go on and find the perfect one that will work, and then you'll be like, yay, great. Um, and then next, of course, will be probably through a Google search, Yes Movies. Yes Movies, of course, would maybe have a variation of it on the Google Play Store, but go ahead and check out Yes Movies. So with that said, now I've gotten all that out of the way, let's go on into double 5 time territory, because it's about that time yet again. Just go into spoiler time, spoiler time. It's about that time we can spoil this movie. Let's go into it. So I've kind of already technically teed this up, and plus also, if I go on and say any more about this film, I feel that there won't be anything left for me to go on and say in spoilers. So let's go into this. So at the very beginning of the film, we have Emily who's going to this job interview where we have a guy who is to uh, talk about Emily's background check, because we have a job where she is to handle files, and these files are to uh, be of really important things, important documents. So this guy who is doing this interview with Emily is to go on and ask about her, if she has like a criminal record. And so Emily, it seems, is to mention that yes, she does have a criminal record for going on and running a red light and so on and so forth. And so we have the guy here that goes on and actually corrects Emily and states is like, well, that's not what your record says. And Emily's like, wait a minute, because the guy is to state that uh, that these guys did not go on and go through her background check, that they just kind of like didn't even look at it and whatever. But this guy then lies and then turns around and says like, well, yeah, I actually did do a thorough background check on you, and come to find out there's an assault charge on this, and I don't know if we can really trust you to go on and do this job, and so on and so. And so Emily just turns around and is like, you know what, like, the main reason why I went on and I applied for this job was because I have like $7,000 in debt. Like, that's the only reason why I'm doing this stupid interview. And so Emily just leaves. And she's like, you know what? I'm freaking out of here. Like, I can't trust you. Why in the would I do this job? Yada, yada, yada. So Emily goes on to her catering job. And so Emily is to be co-working, it seems, with a guy named Javier. And so Emily and Javier are to consistently be like both catering and doing this job. So we have Javier that is to mention that him and his son are going to this baseball game that I think his son is playing in. And so Javier is to want to switch shifts with Emily, and Emily's like, really? Like, I don't want to go on and do a double. And Javier is like, well, could you please just go on and take this shift? Emily's like, sure, fine. So Javier, because Emily is willing to do this for him, Javier goes on and is to give Emily this text for this opportunity and says like, hey, call these people and see if they have a job lined up for you. So Emily goes on and asks these people about this job and that another person had recommended her, and they state it's like, well, it's $200 for 1 hour's worth of work, but you have to like come to this location, you have to come to this address, and we'll explain more. Emily goes to this place that looks like a laundromat, and she is to get pulled into the back of this room, and then we have Yusef, who is to go on and explain to these people that their job, of course, is credit card fraud. And so they end up taking pictures of every single person that comes in there, and they all quickly go on to give them these IDs and then these credit cards to just say, okay, all you need to go on and do is turn around and buy this TV and then bring this back to us and we'll give you $200. So Emily goes on into this store and is to put on this hat, and so she goes on to get this TV and then buys the TV with this credit card. So everything seems to go smoothly. She's walking out of the store. All of a sudden, the security guard is like, "Excuse me, ma'am?" And Emily's like, "What?" And the security guard's like, are you going to pay for that?" And Emily's like, "What?" And he's like, the hat. And Emily's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Hey, here, I'm going to give it back to you." Normally someone would get like called in for simply a hat. Like, yeah, like for how, like I've gone on and I've been in retail stores where, yeah, like any little thing, like a thing of chapstick or whatever, like a security guard will pull you in for anything, so that way they can go on and do like something, or just really it's like, hey, we're trying to avoid this person from stealing. Because I have also gone on and worked in an electronics department, and there's often quite a bit of times where well, like you could see where someone is trying to go on and steal something. There was one time where I got duped, where there was somebody that was trying to steal a camera thing, because they kept trying to have me go on and put all these cameras up, um, so that way they can look at it, so they can see what it was like. And then like the security guard told me, it's like, yeah, like look at this camera. Like they tried to like take one of the displayers, and I'm like, thinking in my brain, I'm like, well, like the displayers don't really work. But hey, yeah, go on and like and have that happen, and like try and steal a camcorder that doesn't work. But uh but yeah, but the security guy caught it, and I was like, oh, okay, well, like obviously like no one else ever did that to me again, because I didn't know any better, because it's like, oh well, yeah, like I just want to sell one of these things, uh because I was just an hourly waged like guy. But anyways, that's besides the fact. Let's go on. Let's push on here. So Emily gets these $200, and so she ends up getting this burner phone that it's like, well, hey, wait for the call and so on and so forth, or wait for the text. So Emily then is to talk to Javier about that job that she did, and so Emily asks Javier, it's like, well, did you go on and do like the next job? And Javier's like, no, I didn't. And so Emily's like, should I go on and do the other job? Because Emily is also to have a friend named Liz, who is to really just tell Emily like how great life is going for her, how like her career is blowing up, and that she's gonna have to go on and go overseas and do all of these uh, like substantial things, and it's great. So, and then we have Emily, who's just like, well, I want something great to happen for me, and I guess being a criminal is how I'm gonna have that work out. So Emily goes on, and during her catering job, she of course is to get this call from Liz, and it seems that Liz needs to go on and have Emily kind of watch over her dog, so on and so forth. And so Liz is, or Liz, so Emily is to do this catering job, and she almost is to throw away this phone in this trash. Then Emily like is to hear the ping of the text. So Emily comes back, gets the phone, and agrees to what she's needing to do. But Emily then is to realize that she's working. And so Emily tells Javier, like, well, hey, like, I'm gonna like drive you to your car, and then you're gonna do the other job, and then all will be fine and good. So Emily then goes on to find out what this other job is, as Emily quickly tries to get to this van. Come to find out, the other job is that Emily is going to take this cashier's check and these credit cards and the and the ID, and is to go on to this guy who is to sell a number of items, it seems, but then is also to have these like certain cars. And so Emily comes in there stating that her boyfriend had already test drive the car, and that Emily wants to go on and pick it up. So luckily, I guess this car is there. So Emily goes in there to uh, give this cashier's check, and is to put the rest on this credit card. So Emily goes with this guy to get to the car, and Yusuf is to have told Emily, it's like, hey, you by the time that they end up putting this credit card in, you have 8 minutes to get out of there. You have 8 minutes to get this car and frickin' leave. Do that as quickly as possible. So Emily goes into the car and is to start to put the engine on, and all of a sudden this guy ends up getting a call, and she's like, oh crap. So we have the guy that is to try to have Emily get out of the car because they need to go back into the office for a minute. And Emily's like, oh my god, like this is where, like, this is all gonna fall apart. So we have the guy grabbing onto Emily, trying to get her out of the car. Emily then goes on to hit this guy and then get into the car and drive off like a wild person. Till finally it seems Emily is stopped via this truck in her way. So we then have Emily that is to mace up this guy's face and then get back into her car and drive off. So Emily, who has like her nose that seems to be bloody because it might be broken, Emily makes her way back to Yusuf, and Yusuf is like, well, hey, what happened? And Emily's like, well, like, he attacked me. What do you think happened? And so Emily is to be kind of upset with Yusuf because it's like, well, that's the reason why you go on and you have other people do your dirty work, because people will get beat up. So Emily makes it back to her car, and Yusuf is kind of slowly behind her, but like, wait a minute, like, come on, like Yusuf is going on and trying to seem like a nice guy, so he's like, hey, like, how about I kind of take you home and make sure you're all right, and then like, how about like we go to your place and like I'll show you how to put ice like on your face so like everything will be okay. So Emily and Yusuf are just spending a lot of time together now, and so we even have one point where Emily is to text Yusuf to have him come to some party that she's at. That, of course, to be done by Liz when Liz is kind of leaving for town. After, of course, Liz to also drop off this dog for Emily to look after as it's barking consistently. So, after it seems that Emily is to do this second job, we then have Emily who comes to Yusuf to see how they do what they do. And so Yusuf ends up showing her the credit card numbers and how to like have this machine that works this credit card and how they go on and do what they do. So Yusuf is to set up Emily to just say like, well, hey, like, don't go in a store twice in 1 week or they'll catch on. So Emily and Yusuf just like, at some point Yusuf just kind of lets Emily do what she's gonna do, and if she makes $5,000, then it's like, well, hey, like, keep the money because you're done. But if you can make a lot more than that, then Yusuf will kind of look into like, okay, like, let's set her up with a bigger job. So Emily goes on to continue to do this credit card fraud to get these TVs. And at one point, we have this guy who is buying this TV off of Emily for $300. And Emily's like, no, like, I want $600 for this TV. And this very intimidating guy is like, well, like, 300. And Emily's like, no, 600. And so it gets to the point where like this guy's be intimidating, but Emily just kind of gets in her car and she drives away. And she's like, "No, I'm not gonna take this. I'm not gonna listen to you. Like I want my 600." And the guy's like, "Okay, fine, 600." Then Emily's like, "Okay, great." so, so Emily ends up getting what she's getting out of these guys, and so she continues to sell off all these TVs for her price. And so Emily goes on and is to have Yusuf find out what she's making. He's like, oh, okay, all right, like I'll go on and set you up with other work. So the further and further that both Yusuf and Emily spend time together, we find out that Yusuf is to want to go on and build these apartment complexes. And so Emily goes with Yusuf to see like what he's trying to build in this building, and so Yusuf wants to like break down this one wall, so that way it can make the room look a lot bigger, and so it's a better selling point. And so Emily and Yusuf continue to hang out with one another, and so when Emily calls Yusuf to go to Liz's place, Yusuf is to turn to Emily. It's like, well, hey, do you want me to like look like I'm your boyfriend or like pretend I'm your boyfriend? And Emily's like, sure. So Yusuf kind of puts his arm like around Emily, but is kind of like his hand is out, so it's not like he's grabbing on her butt or anything. And so after both of them are at this party, we have this moment where further and further they're getting drunk or getting high or getting whatever, because it seems that's is the pattern where, like when Emily and Liz were at the bar in the early part of the movie, Emily just mentions like, "Well, hey, yeah, I'll just go on and have one beer. Like that seems to be the right thing to do." And then the next thing we see Liz and Emily doing is sharing like Coke in the bathroom, and then them going on and they're like outside the bar and they're just like, whoa, like they had a really crazy night. So we have Emily and we have Yusuf, who are to go on, and after this party, both of them are hugging and kissing and almost trying to like do it right then and there, uh, right on the street. And so come to find out, the both of them really enjoy one another. They like one another. And so we have it at one point where Yusuf is to go on to bring Emily to his mother's place. And they end up sharing alcohol. And so Yusuf, of course, is very hesitant about drinking this alcohol because this to be like something that only his mother would probably drink, and he realizes that she forces it on other people. So Yusuf is to be with Emily, just kind of sharing this time, this meal, and his mother. And so we have Khalil that comes in and is to have a video that Emily has gone to the same store twice in 1 week. And the guy's like, well, hey, like, you weren't supposed to do this, and you're breaking our one rule. And Emily's like, ah, crap, like, they caught me. So we, of course, have Khalil who's upset with Yusuf. And so, because there's trust lost here, and so both Yusuf and Khalil are both upset with one another. We have Yusuf who is to realize that he hasn't been getting paid in months, and that like Khalil is to really say at this point that Yusuf is working with Emily now and not him, and so on and so forth. So Yusuf is just getting like really like done with working with Khalil. So Yusuf is to just be like, well, you know what? How about I just like really just burn this bridge, and how about I go on and steal all of this money away from this guy, so I can have this money, and then we can kind of run away together. Because it seems that Emily is to have this dream after she is to have gone on and paid off her debt. Then Emily wants to go to like South America, and she wants to paint, she wants to draw, she wants to do this, she wants to do that. And she's saying all this when she's talking to Yusuf about like what her dream would really be if she had all the money to do whatever she wanted. So we have Yusuf who's deciding that he's going to steal everything from Khalil and then them both run off together. And come to find out, when Yusuf is to try to do any number of these things, when uh, when he's to go and get into it, Yusuf ends up finally finding out that all of this stuff is to be taken from under him by his partner. The guy was to do what Yusuf was going to do before he did it. So now Emily, who of course cannot accept defeat here because she's already gone on and had one guy who was to come to her place and try to steal all of her money from her as he tries to follow her to her home and break into her place and put a box cutter to her and is to demand that that he wants all of her money. And when uh, she ends up getting stolen all of her money, Emily just goes right to where this guy's vehicle is and tasers him with this taser, and then takes back what she is to have had them take from her, which is to be this dog, and I'm assuming the money that she uh, was to have been stolen from. And so Emily ends up telling this girl that was with this guy that she is to have seen her driver's license. She knows where she lives. So it's like Emily tells this girl and this guy, it's like, well, hey, you know where I live? I know where you live. So, like, we can dance like this all day. And so yeah, so Emily gets what she gets back. And I thought that was so cool. Because, of course, Emily has uh, this taser that she ended up getting from Yusuf as like, yeah, you should figure out a way to like defend yourself well, or otherwise people are gonna go on and just steal from you. So Emily now back on to having Yusuf having all of his money taken from him before he could take it. And so Emily goes and takes Yusuf and is like, well, hey, where does this guy live? Because we'll just retake all this money back. And Yusuf is telling Emily, it's like, man, you're a bad influence. And Emily's like, no, like, we're going to go on and do this. So Yusuf goes on to have Emily pretend that she is this caterer and she's delivering this food. And so when one person comes to the door, we have Emily who tasers this guy, drops him down, and Yusuf ends up starting to kick him. They end up putting this guy into this trunk, and so Yusuf ends up taking this guy's cell phone to mention that his car had gotten jacked, and now he's at this location, which drives a number of the other guys that are in this house to all uh, go to the location that the guy had texted them. So now that leaves Khalil and Yusuf and Emily alone. So when Emily and Yusuf make it to the room of which that Khalil is in, they hear the shower running, so they immediately think, oh, he's in the shower. They end up going into the shower to find out that he's not there. It's like, okay, like, so this guy was immediately knowing that someone was coming. So we have Khalil who bashes Yusuf in the back of the head, and so Emily is to come prepared with not only like a taser, but then she also has a box cutter. So Khalil is to be on top of Emily, choking her, and we have Emily who whips out this box cutter and starts stabbing into Khalil. And So Emily's to have this box cutter and is willing to slice Khalil's throat to like say, hey, like where is the money? Like I'll kill you and I'll find out where the money is anyways, but like I would rather you be alive kind of thing. So Emily is doing this countdown, threatening this guy, and so he's like, the money's in the fridge. You can find the money in the fridge. So Emily is to tell Khalil that hey, here's a phone. You can call the police. So Emily gets the money out of the fridge and then runs with Yusuf back into this car. But the problem is that somehow or another Emily can't find the car keys, and so she's like trying to get into Yusuf's pockets to try and find where the keys are. She can't find it, and so it seems that Yusuf is fading, that he might die here. And so Emily is realizing that there's no way that she can move Yusuf or whatever. So Emily just takes the money and bolts. She just takes the bag of stuff and she's like, well, Yusuf, I'm sorry, but I'm getting out of here. So Emily takes the money and bolts, and she ends up going on to like South Africa or South America somewhere, and she's drawing, and she's on this beach, and she's having the time of her life, but she has gone on to just F off. And then she just disappears. We also had the moment where Emily wanted to go on and see if the job that Liz was going to offer her was finally going to pan out. Because we have Emily that was looking for work, and so Liz was like, "Well, I think we can hire you at my work." And so like I'll see if I can get you something. And so Emily goes on to be like, "Oh wow, like that like this could be great." From what Liz would go on and explain what her job is, like maybe it's just a matter of time before Emily can get that great job. Come to find out, when Emily finally does find out what this job really is, after the back and forthing of Liz just saying like, "Well, no, I think I can get you. Oh no, I don't think I can. Oh no, wait, I think there's a job opening." Then Emily finally goes on to find out what this job really is, and is to do this interview with a woman named Alice. Come to find out, Alice is to tell Emily that this is a intern job. And so intern job means you aren't getting freaking paid a cent. Really. Or you would probably go on and get paid probably way less than you probably would in a job that would normally be paying a lot of people a lot more. But either way, this job is to not pay anything until like 4 or 5 months later down the road. Then it seems that Emily will get paid to do something. But so Emily immediately is just like, no, I want to be put on the payroll. Like, I want a real job. Like, I don't want to get something that I'm going to have to do for free. That I should go on and justifyingly do another job to then, like, still do this job also. And Emily's asking, of course, like, well, like, what are the hours for this job? Because how is she going to fit in the one job she already has for this one also? So it's just like Emily's like, no, like, you know what, if you wanna hire me and you wanna tell me what to do, like, then you should put me on the payroll. Like, I'm not gonna take crap from you. I'm not gonna like listen to you if you're not gonna pay me. Like, no. So we have Alice that is like chewing into Emily and saying like how like this woman like feels that she's entitled, or uh it seems like this one ends up like kind of rattling off that this girl is to be like, oh well, like you want your life to be just so and this and that, blah, 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 all this garbage. So but yeah, so that ends up kind of wrapping up where Emily instead goes with Yusuf to steal this money back from this guy, because she has nothing else going on. There's nowhere in her life where it's going to benefit her besides being a criminal. And so Emily is to take that and just be like, okay, like, well, let's continue to be a criminal, to the point of her going on, and where she is living at now, she ends up going on to go into the same business that she was already doing, but now is doing it in this other location where she has gone on to learn the language, and now she is going on and speaking to everybody to say the exact same thing that Yusuf was to go on and tell a number of people. She is going on and telling them. So she has set up her own business that is going to keep her rich, or keep her uh, like having money flowing in, after she was to go on and just steal that certain amount of money to set herself up. And I'm like, yeah, like, we have to have like some kind of really cool ending, and that, of course, is to be the ending of this film. So with that said, I think I'm just gonna go on and get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.